So I'm going to start with 10. So sorry about the delay, Ivory. But I'm going to start with 10. So 10 is solved by substitution. So what we're going to do is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all 4 of these variables. So I'm going to look at all 4 of these variables. So we have 4 variables. They're set, the top x, the bottom x. Oh, and I forgot a y there, I'm assuming. Yep, I did. And then I have a top y and a bottom y. So there's 4 variables. I want the variable that is already by itself. That's what you like. That's like a reason you'd use substitution. So x is already by itself. So I'm going to be picking this bottom equation to start. Now what that means for me is I'm going to take whatever x is equal to, and it's going to go into the top equation. So I'm going to rewrite this top equation. So I'm going to take the top equation. The reason I'm using the top equation is because the bottom one was already ready. So I'm going to put 7 instead of x, I'm going to put parentheses, equals 4y, or equal, I'm sorry. I'm going to put 7x plus 2y equals -9. So now this looks just like the top equation, except instead of x, there's a big blank space. In that big blank space, 4y plus 3 is going to go right there. All right. So then 7 times 4y is 28y. So now I'm just going to use, so now that I have one equation, so the reason I can't solve this when I first started is because the bottom equation has one equation with 2 variables. The top equation has one equation with 2 variables. I want one equation with only y's or only x's. That's what I got. Now, before I can do any primitive backwards, I have to get all my y's together. So I'm going to distribute. The 7 is going to go to 4y and 3. The most common mistake I will see is somebody's going to forget to take the 7 to the 3 to get 21. Now I'm going to combine my like terms. Now I'm going to use primitive backwards. So I'm going to get rid of the addition. So I'm going to subtract 21 from both sides. So this is algebra review. This is not really necessarily geometry review. This is, but we did start the year off with algebra, with just remembering how to do some algebra stuff. Now I have to get rid of this multiplication, so I'm going to divide both sides by 30. So I end up with, my first answer is going to be y equals -1. Now I need an answer for x. You can put -1 in for the top y, or you can put it in for the bottom y. It doesn't matter. I'm going to use the bottom one, so I'm going to say x equals 4 instead of y. I'm going to put -1 because we found out -1 is y plus 3. So I get x equals -4 plus 3. So x also equals -1. That's just a coincidence. They're not always going to be the same. Now the last thing I have to do is I have to write as an ordered pair because these two answers are tied together. X is -1 only if y is -1. Right, so that's your final answer, your x and your y. Remember, x is written first, then y. That help, Ivory, or no? Awesome. All right, so I'm going to go over 11 next. You want me to go over 11 still, correct? Awesome. So I'm going to clear this. And I got to look and see what 11 is. I'm lazy, so I'm going to do this. I guess it's not going to do it. That stinks. All right, because I'll do it this way. 5x plus 3y equals negative 16. Two x minus 3y equals 9. All right, so elimination. Elimination tells you that the first thing you should do is line up your x's and y's. All right, so everything's gonna be lined up. If you look on your hint page, they're gonna the hint page says line everything up. So x's in line with x's, y's with y's, numbers with numbers, equal signs with number equal signs. My goal is to find coefficients that are the same number with opposite signs. And if that wasn't the case, I would multiply to make that happen. But I look at, if you can see that, I look at these y's. My y's already both have 3's in their opposite signs. That's awesome. So once that happens, I get to add up and down. So because these match, I'm going to add 5x plus 2x is 7x. Now the y's cancel out, which is awesome for me because then I get to put negative 13 and 9 is just going to be 4. So, sorry, it should be negative 4. Make sure I wrote that down right. I didn't. It's a 16 here. That's just me writing down the wrong answer. So that's a 16. And that's going to give me negative 7. Now, whenever you do elimination, once you eliminate a variable, your solving should be very easy. Like I just divide both sides by 7 here. X equals negative 1. If that's hard, you probably messed up somewhere. Right? If the y doesn't go away, you probably messed up somewhere. Now, it doesn't matter which one you want to use, either the top or the bottom. I could put negative 1 in right there. I could also put in right there. I'll get the same answer either way. So just for this one, I'll use the top one. So I put 5 times negative 1 plus 3y equals negative 16. I get negative 5 plus 3y equals negative 16. I add 5 to both sides, because remember, that's how you get rid of that negative. So I have to add 5, which means I add 5. So I get 3y equals negative 11. Divide both sides by 3. So y equals negative 11 thirds. You can put negative 3 1/3 or 3 2/3. You could put negative 3.666. I don't really care. I left it as negative 11 thirds. Depending on what I was doing, I might leave it like negative 11 thirds. I might write it as negative 3 2/3. If I was graphing it, I might do this: negative 1, negative 3 2/3. Remember, I want my final answer as an ordered pair. Right, so that's it. We good on 11 now, Ivory? Awesome. So now I'm going to switch over to 12. Let's clear this. So 12 is a little bit harder because it's not as pretty, I would say. So 9x plus 12y equals 87. And then negative 6x minus 5y. I think it's negative 43. All right, so what I'm going to do for this one is everything's lined up. Now I look at my coefficients. They don't cancel out right away, so I have to multiply to make them cancel. Now you're allowed to multiply as long as, like, let's say I want to change the top. I have to multiply all 3 things by that. So what I'm going to do is pick which one I want to make go away. It doesn't matter. You can make your x's go away. You can make your y's go away. I'm going to make my x's go away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply everything on the top by 2. I have to multiply this guy by 2, this guy by 2, this guy by 2. So I end up with 18x plus 24y equals 87 times 2 is 174. Let me double check just to make sure I'm not being crazy. 87 times 2, 174. Now, the bottom one, I'm going to multiply everything by 3. So the reason I picked the x's is because the x's already had opposite signs. And I know that 18 is the least common multiple between the two. So I know if I can multiply 9 by a number to get 18 and 6 by a number to get 18, so it's going to be 3. So I had negative 6 times 3 is negative 18x. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15y. And negative 43 times 3 is negative 129. I'm not crazy, 25. All right. Now, so look, I did a little bit of multiplying, and now my problem kind of looks like the last one, where my x's have the same numbers, 18 and negative 18, but opposite signs, so they cancel. I add, I get 9y, because 24 minus 15 is 9, and then I'm going to do 174 minus 129, and I get 45. Divide both sides by 9. I get y equals 45 divided by 9 is 5. So that's my answer for y. Now, to get your x, it's the same way you got your other variable in the last type of problem. You're just going to take y and you're going to plug it either into the top or the bottom. I'll use the bottom. It doesn't really matter to me. I think last time we used the top. So negative 6x minus 5 instead of y, I'm going to put 5 equals negative 43. I get negative 6x minus 25 equals 43, negative. I add 25 to both sides, so I do negative 43 plus 25. I get negative 6x equals negative 18. So remember, guys, what I did, if you didn't see this, is I add 25 and I add 25. So negative 6x is negative 18. Now I divide both sides by 6. So I end up with x equals positive 3 because it's a negative over a negative. So I have an x, I have a y. That means my answer is going to be 3, 5. And that's it. Did that help you, Ivory? Do you have any more questions on any of them? Number 9, yeah, I can do number 9. Just gotta look and see what it is. So let me clear this. Oh, okay, number 9. Y equals 4.
Next week, are you going to be in all next week? You know.
I don't have to be in.
Well, no, I didn't get permission yet, but thinking about taking these 3 rooms, emptying them out, and strip and wax the floor.
Okay.
Because they're going to use these rooms A, B, Y.
Okay.
But if you need your computer and stuff, I can set it up somewhat.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'll get permission to. That's what I think next week. So we should have it all done in a week. Actually, though, if we're going to use this, it might leave it 4 apart.
It's fine. Whatever. I just need a little spot. I can go to the library too.
Oh, can you? Okay.
Yeah, it don't matter. I'm just.
So as long as, okay, I'll put all your stuff together
Yeah.
for you.
I'm just doing this for a quiet spot because my house is so loud.
Oh, okay. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anytime. Sorry, we were interrupted. I forgot what I was doing. Okay, I know what we're doing. So this is substitution. The reason that I know it's substitution is, oh, I don't want that. See how that y is all by itself? That tells me right away I should do substitution. If things are already lined up for you, you should probably might want to use something else. And this one's actually really easy too because 4 is they already have an answer. They already know that y equals 4. So all you do is you plug 4 in for y right here. So I have negative 4x. Why is it not working? Negative 4x minus 5 instead of y. I'm going to put 4 equals 2. So I get negative 4x minus 20 equals 2. Now I'm going to add 20 to both sides. I get negative 4x equals 22. Divide by 4, x is going to be 22 over 4, which is 11 halves, or x is going to be 5 1/2. A lot of times when I'm graphing, I leave it as a mixed number. If I'm doing like more complicated algebra stuff, I would leave it as 11 halves. So my x is 5.5, my y is 4, so I'm going to put 5.5, 4. That's it. Oh, it's 20, not 2. I'm stupid. Oh, no. Changes things significantly. That makes more sense, actually. So that's 40, sorry. And now it's 10. That just turns it into 10, sorry. So x equals, oh, it's negative 10. That makes sense? Sorry. Awesome. Any other questions? Oh, there's more people here. I didn't know there were more people. Yes, yeah. That goes in for anything throughout this whole quarter. Like, this is a really weird situation. Don't get caught up on Google Classroom about like deadlines and things like that. Really, when you're at I'm not worried about dates. I should have your guys' class all caught up in progress book by tomorrow. My biggest thing that would make my life easier is if you guys could attach your work to the actual assignment. I will gladly take it as an email, but it does make it a lot harder for me. With anything with that coronavirus stuff, that was just a little bit harder math, but I thought it'd be really relevant for you guys. So I understand that it was a little bit harder. Any of that stuff you want to fix and return back in, you can totally do that anytime and still get full credit. So if that makes sense or no, hopefully. Perfect. So if any more questions, let me know. If you like this, if this helped out a lot, we can set this up. Just give me a little bit of a heads up and I can try and make it work so I can get a quiet spot to do this. I think it was just you in here today, Ivory. Yeah, I think it was just you. So that's totally fine with me. It doesn't matter. And then I'll just probably steal some of this and put it as a video so people can see it. So, but that's all I got. Unless you have